life. This and that for life. I'm on West for life, nigga. This a blow. Hey, yo, Madara. Here go a clash for you, my nigga. 140 for the rebel. The world turned its back on me. I'm a cripple. We got soldiers, he got soldiers, but I got different ones. Ain't no way out, I tell you once. Don't pray for nothing, sin and curse. We can't forgive what's forbidden. Remain in them trenches. Trust in the Lord, but please forgive me for the times that I did. If rank is given, have your respect to your apprentice. Be about your business. This loyalty's a death sentence. Look, trying to pick up with a blind fail. Hey, they said there'll be many mansions. I'm just grinding for my time share. Them devils ain't playing fair. They hunt you like bad pal. But ain't no getting out the game like Jumanji. You take that oath, it's a Dundee. They try to deal death to a priest. You won't make it out in one piece. So you can stand. Just make sure you got the heart. Say your name 3 times and it's death do us part. No. So how you feel about this truth I done shown? This ain't the life you think, little nigga. I should want. Even your own people go disown. And the Lord said they hate you for my name. So you better keep it on. Ain't no more guessing. Ain't no more questions. Make sure my election till I'm tucked away like George Jetson. Murder for capital, now it's murder at the Capitol. The world in amazement, we like fucking raise it, raise it. I pity those watching life as it go by. Be giving mercy in this life, I don't know why. In pump smoke, never try to. The dead at home, my brother be the dead, it's all I don't. Either fold or salute, my nigga. Salute, my nigga. They like, how you stay focused? I told them I'm motivated cause of you, my nigga. Brotherhoods and weapons, still got weapons on the scene. And I never do my niggas like Bishop did Raheem. Never mind in all beliefs, they under anesthesia. Shorty say she leave me, said she wanna let that love go. Told I let that love grow. But if I bring you to my bed, that's a blood. So, how you feel about this truth I done show? This ain't the life you think, little nigga. I should want. Even your own people go disown. And the Lord said they hate you for my name, so you better keep it on. Yeah.
You boy, you know what time it is, nigga. Better watch how you step in, yeah. But that was my nigga, yeah. I'm in yo. Got my nigga Rawan with me. But that was my niggas, it'll be an honor. You know what I'm saying? Under commanding general, your honor. Straight off the top, I love all of my niggas. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top and we ballin', my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home. That's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown on many streets and closed caption. Niggas know we bout that action. If a nigga play with me, then my hockey gon' let him have it. Hey, make you the shit, this truth the shit. Nigga play, I let that Ruger hit. Get on them tracks, they be like, who is this? I'm rude with it. Ain't got no manners, all them pussy niggas talking shit. Yeah, I know they can't stand us, but we UPK Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm ripping. And my niggas solid number, real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, put your boots on, start stepping. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood. I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers, because I love them, I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapped in the gutter. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. For why take your life or let you take mine? That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them graves. Shit got me feeling plain. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex. Still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Hey, hey.
All right, Shalom, Israel, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. The Friday night Lashawan Qadash class, where we break down the scriptures from a linguistics perspective. And we give you the tools that you're going to need to be able to read, write, and speak the Hebrew. We've been teaching Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible since 1969. When we go into these scriptures, we teach brothers and sisters how to, love one another. We teach brothers and sisters the law, break down these scriptures. But if you learn all those things and then neglect the language, you're neglecting a huge part of your culture. And then in this class, we teach brothers and sisters how to speak. We give you the tools to be able to speak the language, and to read the language. All right. And that's how a lot of these Christian pastors, these fake Israelites, and these individualites, and you name it. If you're not in this body, that's how a lot of brothers and sisters get tripped up, because the Hebrew also gives you context that you wouldn't have, otherwise. Like that's why the Christian church gets tripped up off of words like Gentile or brother, nation, all these different words where they think that it implies that God loves everybody and Christ died for everybody, especially since the New Testament is written in Greek and translated from Greek, rather, Salaki. Since the New Testament is translated from Greek, from a Hebrew-speaking people, it leads to a lot of confusion. And because the Christian church and all its counterparts, the Christian church, the Catholic church, fake Israelite groups, individualites, all are arrogant, you combine that with the arrogance and boom, God loves everybody and you can't tell them nothing. So that's where a lot of those misunderstandings comes from. But if you know this language, if you can understand this language, if you can understand this language, you can read certain scriptures, you can read certain scriptures and understand the nature of the language, then you can understand those nuances that have Christians and these fake Israelite groups tripped up. So with that being said, make sure you got your learning utensils. Make sure you got your notebook, pen or pencil, all your learning resources, your concordance. You're gonna need a Hebrew-English dictionary. You in the school, we got one in the school. We got all these things in the school. And also, if you're watching online as well, you can put your questions in the chat, and I'll get to them. If you in the room, go ahead, just raise your hand, and we'll get right to it. All right. Last week we went over We briefly reviewed the prepositions, which we went over the previous week, which are characters that mean various things that come before a root word. Then you got your possessive. We went over the possessive last week, which are characters that come after your root word that mean various things. We went over each of the lists, you know what I mean? Each of the characters and what each of those characters or what each of those things mean. All right, and then we finished the pictographs, which we also went into the previous week as well. All right. Again, knowing these are going to give you the tools to be able to speak the language. You know what I mean? This ain't like, you know what I mean, English. But this ain't like your oppressor's language where it's just like the Hebrew isn't English. It's not like English. It's not like Spanish. It's not like any of these other oppressors' language. It's our language, and it's spoken how we speak. All right. But just knowing all of these different components, the prepositions, the possessives, the tenses, and then that's going to all give you all the tools. That's going to give you all the tools that you're going to need to be able to read the language. You know what I mean? And then these root words, right? These pictographs, first of all, understanding that each character has a pictograph is going to help you memorize each pictograph, and it's going to help you memorize these words. Because each word is each pictograph is represented by the word, because the pictograph looks like the word, like it looks like an ox head on the side. Alak is the word. Cow or ox, you know what I mean, is the word, right? Because again, the looks like an ox head on the side, right? Tana basket, right? The ta looks like a basket. The ta looks like a tana. You know what I mean? So just knowing the pictographs, getting familiar with the pictographs is going to help you get familiar with the characters. And if you get familiar with the characters and the pictographs, then you're going to be able to remember all of these words. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Just knowing the pictographs, you can learn like 25 words and just have it in your memory bank. And then when we get to Sabbath service, you know what I mean? When you see any of these words, you're not going to be stumbling over those words. You're going to be able to read right through them. You're going to be able to flow right through it because you've seen it before. And when you see words that are built off of these words, like like, for example, like mayam is water. You see words that are built off of these pictograph words, like mayam is water. You put a sha in front of it, it becomes shamayam. So when you see that, then you can flow through those words as well. Another example, ra'ash. You know what I mean? Ra'ash means head. But if you go to Genesis 1:1, it'll start with ba ra'ashya, right? Ra'ash is the root word. Ra'ash is the root word. Ba means in or on. So in the ba ra'ash means in the first. Ra'ashya means beginning. So ba ra'ashya in the beginning, right? But you get that from building off of these words that you just learned. You know what I mean? And you can, you know what I mean, you'll see that with you know what I mean, you'll be able to see that with a lot of these words. If you could just remember, if you can go through the things that I just told you about, memorize or get familiar with your pictographs, get familiar with the word that's associated with the pictograph, you'll be able to memorize all of these. And then when you see any of them, any variation of these words, then it'll be one less word that you got to stumble over in Sabbath service. And that's the whole goal, right? So when you, you know what I mean, the whole goal is to be able to speak the language. All right. So we read during Sabbath service so that we can speak the language. You know what I mean, that's when we go through the prayers. We talk to one another. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakathon. Yahweh Shema Shem Yahshua. We talk to one another in the Hebrew. We say Khan, La'ah, Salakia, Baba Kashad, Khan out of one Khan. I mean, we talk to one another in our holy tongue so that we can get our oppressor's language out of our mouths. You know what I mean? That's the whole goal, for us to be able to move to conversational Hebrew so that we can talk to one another in Hebrew. You know what I mean? So we can get our nosy oppressors out of our business. You know what I mean? We having a conversation with our brother, but the only language we understand is English. So any oppressor that speaks English, they can eavesdrop on your language, on your conversation. You know what I mean? Same with Spanish. You know what I mean? You got Spaniards, you got Hispanics speaking Spanish to one another, and then you will have a Spaniard, which is not the same as a Hispanic, you know what I mean, eavesdropping on their language. And now, you know what I mean, there's no privacy between us and our oppressor. You know what I mean? That's no different than slavery, where we was on plantations picking cotton, and we had to, you know what I mean, we had to disguise certain things. We had to talk in private. We had to gather in private. We had to disguise certain things in, you know what I mean, in different ways to keep our oppressor out of our business. It's no different. If we still speak in our oppressor's language, I mean, that's how you still got to behave and move like a slave if you don't have your language. All right. It don't matter how many precepts you know. It don't matter how, I mean, you can know the Bible back to front, up and down. But if you don't understand this language, we still have to move like slaves. You know what I mean? Let's like it. All right. So we went over the what's it called? The pictographs. All right. So let's go ahead and last week I was talking about, it's a lot here. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Lot here. All right, so before I move on, make sure if you don't have this in your notes, get this in your notes. If you're watching online, pause the video, write it down, take a picture, take a screenshot, whatever you got to do. If you're watching in class, if you don't have it in your notes already, I suggest you to do the same thing. Go back after the class is over. You can take a picture, you know what I mean, or go back after the class is over and pause and write down each of these pictographs, because it's going to be real important for you to understand and know, you know what I mean, all these things. All right. But last week and the previous week, I've been trying to get to this next part. Real important, you know what I mean? Again, what we do during Friday night Lashawan Qadash class is we give brothers and sisters the tools to be able to read, write, and speak this language. You know what I mean? Especially the reading part. All right? We give brothers and sisters the tools to be able to read this language. All right? And I want to go over one more part that I've been kind of talking about really for the past couple months. I've been talking about it, been saying that I wanted to go into it. We never really got into it. We was going into other stuff, which is fine. I mean, no problem. But tonight, I'm gonna actually go into it, which was the Salakia. Past and future tense. All right. Again, we kind of alluded to it a little bit. We talked about it for a little bit. We just never was able to actually get down to it. All right. But the reason why I want to go into it is because a lot of times we'll see it in the scriptures, right? We'll see it in the scriptures, but because we not familiar with it, we're not really familiar, like, because the basics, like the 4 steps, Salakia. The 4 steps that's going to be the most commonly used, or the basics the basic 4 steps of reading the Hebrew is knowing that there's a preposition, there's a possessive somewhere, there's a root word, and a tense. You know what I mean? That's what all of your phrases are going to be made of. All right? Let me put that back up here since we're talking about it. See if this marker decided to work. Yeah, nah, this mug cooked. All right. 4 steps. All right. Now I'm just putting it back up here. It's been up. This concept has been up here for a while, but you know what I mean, just for teaching purposes, right? 4 steps. Brothers are going to be looking at a lot here. Is well, I'm gonna do it like this, just to avoid confusion. First of all, look for a root word. Your root word is gonna have 2 to 3 characters, right? If you see a phrase and it just has 2 to 3 characters, 9 times out of 10 is just the root word by itself. Again, if you see any of these 4 steps, it's not gonna be in any particular order. You're not gonna necessarily see all of these steps. You might see just the preposition and a root word. You might just see a root word with a possessive. You might just see a root word with a tense attached to it. You might see all 4. You might see any combination of them. You might see, you know what I mean, a root word with a preposition, a possessive, and a tense. You know what I mean? But these are just going to be your basic 4 steps. So you got your root word, right? Again, your preposition, which comes before the root word, right? As you see down here, right? I'll just put it up here as well. And then you got your possessive, which comes after. And then you got your tenses. So that's going to be what we're going to go over tonight. I mean, that's part of the reason why I want to go over this for. But usually your tenses, what we know so far is you got your doing tense, which would be a Y in the middle. You got your proper noun, which will be adding one to the end of a root word, right? You would have you might see a ya in the middle of a word, which would indicate past tense in a general sense, salakia. You might see, I mean, all the various tenses that we went over in the past. All right, so just go through your notes. I don't want to go through all of them just for time's sake, but if just to refresh, just go through your notes, or you could just ask the question and then I'll respond and put it in the chat, refresh you. Or if you need it, and eventually in a minute, because I usually keep it on the board, I'll just put it back on the board. But I want to get to this because last week, because we was doing some other stuff, we didn't get to what I want to go to tonight. All right, so I just want to focus on that. All right, but all of those are your tenses, and again, you might see any combination of those 4 things. But again, I want to go through this new topic because when we see these 4 steps, you just open Bible Hub and you try to read through Bible Hub, and you're just using these 4 steps as a mechanical process, which is fine. You know what I mean? As you're learning, you want to stick to your foundation, right? So stick to your foundation. You're just learning. Just stick to these 4 steps. And then this is where your questions are going to come from. So don't deviate from this. You know what I mean? I don't want nobody to decide that we're going to just throw this away because we're about to learn something new. You know what I mean? The men above me told you, never forget what you already know, trying to learn something new. So remember, this is going to be your bread and butter. But I'm just going to add to it tonight. But but we only use what we know, all right, to be able to use these 4 steps. So because we only know prepositions, possessives, root words, and those tenses we just went over, we'll see certain things and we'll just be like, oh, it's this tense. Oh, it's just a possessive or it's a preposition. when that's not necessarily so. You know what I mean? It could be a different concept. It could be one of these concepts that we're about to go over. But you just want to just keep that in, you want to keep that in mind. And the only way for you to, first of all, for you to understand what concept we're using, you're going to need to know the concept or the context, what we're talking about. All right. So if we're talking about something being done in past tense, you know, the context is in past tense. So you can see a past tense, you know what I mean? You could see past tense in the word, you know what I mean? Which we're gonna go over. Let's start with past tense, but we're gonna go over that tonight. You might, if you see the context of something talking about, oh, this will happen, then the context will be in future tense. So now you're going to be looking for those indicators of that future tense, which we'll get into. See how much time we got. Which we'll get into probably next week, just so we could just get through it. You know what I mean? So we can get through it. We can sit in it. You know what I mean? So that we can sit in this concept and learn it and understand it, just like we sat in the prepositions. You know what I mean? We went over the prepositions step by step so that we can learn it and understand it and add it to our belt. You know what I mean? Same with the possessives. So that's what we're going to do with these concepts. We're going to go through them slow. We're going to take our time with them so that we can sit in them and understand these concepts. All right. So when we see these concepts during Sabbath service or when we're reading the Hebrew, we can recognize it. All right. All right. So lock in. Let's grab my notes. All right. So past tense, right? Past tense, all right? Or in the Hebrew, ibar, which is where the word Hebrew comes from, which means past, right? All right, which is where the word Hebrew comes from, past. You know what I mean? This is the language that we spoke in the past. You know what I mean? This is an ancient language. You know what I mean? First of all, this concept is gonna revolve around a couple words. All right, let me put these up here real quick. So that I, you, he, she, right, we, y'all, they. We kind of touched on these words. A couple weeks ago because I was trying to go into this concept. We never ended up doing it, but we're doing it now. But we kind of touched on these words because these words is going to be important for us to understand this concept. All right. So we already know that to say I as a preposition, it'll be I, right? But if it's not as a preposition, because if you're just saying I, or you know what I mean, if it's not if you're not using it as a preposition, this word also means I. Anya, right? Same with you. You know what I mean? If you want to say you or your as a preposition, or Salakia. you want to say you or your as a preposition, you would say ta, right? Or you or your as a possessive. Like, for example, well, okay, I'll leave it at that. But you would, if you wanted to say you or your in a scripture, you would see ta there, or you would see ka as a possessive, all right? But to say you a tha, like a tha, all right? He, you know what I mean? Again, you would use if you wanted to say he or his or it, if you're using it as a preposition, say to say he, his, or it, you could use ya, or to use it as a possessive, you say you'll see wa, you know what I mean, at the end. All right? But this word, this root word also means he. Ha, wa, ah. All right? Lock it. All right. Let's say she, it'll be ha, ya, ah. We be a knock. Noah. A knock Noah. All right. And this is important because when you see that Noah, because we only been practicing with these 4 steps, you will see Noah and be like, oh, that's a possessive. That's a possessive meaning our, right? So now you might be combing through the dictionary and be like, okay, a knock. You know what I mean? A knock Noah is a root word. You know what I mean? You're not going to find Noah in the dictionary, in the Hebrew dictionary at all. Noah is not a word. A knock Noah is how you would say we. You know what I mean? So again, like this is why we going over this, because just knowing this concept, you won't get tripped up by these things, right? Y'all is it's a lot. A thumb. How the hell? A lot. A thumb. A thumb is y'all. A thumb. So a thumb you, a thumb y'all. Right? And then they is hum. Hum. All right? You're going to need all of these words, right? So you can know the context of what we're talking about. So whether you're talking about past, present, or future tense, you'll be able to apply all of these concepts that we're about to go over in a second. You'll be able to, okay, we're talking about them doing something in past tense. So now I know to say this properly, I would add this to this word in this particular location, and that's what this word means. You know what I mean? And you won't get tripped up. You won't get discouraged, right? And you'll be able to make distinctions. And also, like we went over last week, context will change the pronunciation, right? Like we went over last week. Shalom, shalomah, and shalom ha mean two different things. It's spelled the same way, right, in the Hebrew. I'll do it again, right? So, Shalom, Ha, right? Shalamaha, right? You can pronounce this word in two different ways. I mean, for brothers and sisters just joining us or who are not familiar with the Hebrew is written and read from right to left. All right. So this is Sha, La, Ma, and Ha. You know what I mean? Depending on the context, it'll be pronounced in two different ways. Right? So shalom is the root word in both. In both words, shalom is the root word. All right? The ha, depending on what its intention is, will change the pronunciation of the phrase. So that's why sometimes I'll hear brothers pronounce the ha at the end, and I have to correct it. Like, no, it's shalom ma, not shalom ha. And sometimes a brother just pronounce it with that soft ah sound, like shalom ma, and I'll be like, no, it's shalom ha. You know which one it is based on the context, right? And context, again, can change the intention of this character, which will change the pronunciation, right? So shalama is just shalom with a servile tense at the end. You know what I mean? Brothers might recognize this as King Solomon's name, shalama. Shalom means peace. Ha is a servile tense, right? He was a servant of peace or peaceful. You know what I mean? Right? That's what his name means, peaceful. Shalom or salaki, shalama. Right? So that's how you would pronounce it if this was a servile tense, right? The ha being used as a servile tense. But if this is used as a possessive, because ha is a salaki, ha is a possessive as well. So if this is used as a possessive, right, then this wouldn't be pronounced shalama. It would be shalom ha, right? But that's just the importance. Again, I just want to reiterate that because a lot of these, knowing these is going to let you know how to pronounce certain things, right? What's the correct way to pronounce a certain thing, a certain phrase, a certain word, and what's the incorrect way to pronounce a phrase or a certain word. All right. That's why it's important to get this down so that, and then all like after you understand this concept, now all you got to do is just pay attention to the context. All right. Like who's talking, who are we talking about, and is it past, present, or future tense? All right. And that's going to give you the context, and the context is going to give you the correct way to pronounce it. All right. All right, so we'll start with past tense. All right, we'll start with past tense, and we'll go into future tense. Go to future tense next week. All right. Now, these words, or when you're dealing with past, present, or future tense, you're going to have to you're gonna have to conjugate. You're gonna have to conjugate the word. I mean, you're gonna have to add something to. Basically, you're gonna have to add something to show whether it's past, present, or future tense to indicate past, present, or future tense. All right, that's all that is for you know what I mean to explain it simply. All right, you're gonna change the word that you're dealing with to indicate that it's being used in its proper tense. All right, so we're gonna use a word, right? We're gonna pick a word. Let's see. All right, let's go with Shamar. You know, everybody, we should be pretty familiar with, you know what I mean, just Shamar, right? And just for, you know what I mean, the sake of the class, you know what I mean, I'm gonna just write it down in the English. But what I would advise brothers to do is to go back into your notes. You know what I mean? Because you should be taking notes in class, but after class, I mean, just so you can get this concept down. After class, after you get this concept down, I will go back into your notes and write down everything in the Hebrew. Like Shamar, you write it down in the Hebrew, the ancient and in the Assyrian. Ibar, you write it down in the ancient and the Assyrian. Anya, Atha, Hawa'ah, Haya'ah, Anaknoah, Atham, Hum. All of those things, go back and write it down in the ancient and the Assyrian. All right? So that you can, this is just to get the concept down, but then you practice that penmanship and you get used to the penmanship, you know what I mean, at home. All right. All right. So past tense, if you were to say, okay, so shamar means watch, right? Watch. So shamar means watch for brothers and sisters that don't know. All right. But if you want to say, if you want to make watch past tense instead of saying watch, you would say watched with an ed at the end. You know what I mean? That's how you would say, that's how you would make watch past tense, right? But you don't, again, Hebrew is not English, all right? So you wouldn't say shamar, right? A lot of times because we in hell, right? We in hell, we just learning this new language. We try to use it with one another, you know what I mean? Which is fine. You know what I mean? I'm not saying for brothers to stop doing this, but a lot of times we'll say it like we'll use Hebrew words and attach English, you know what I mean, conjugations to them. So instead of saying, if I say, oh, I shamarred, I was on shamar, or I shamarred for the Black Party, or for the Passover, you know what I mean? That's how we use the Hebrew, because the language that we grew up speaking was English, you know what I mean? So or a lot of us, Salakia, I mean, we were speaking an oppressive language, so when we're learning this language, we'll just speak it like English, like, oh, I shamar, or, you know what I mean? That's how we'll do it. But it's going to show you the appropriate way to say that. So with that being said, okay, so what's the appropriate way to say I watched? You know what I mean? Or I shamar. I was on shamar, right? So the word, right? So the word to say I is anya, right? So this phrase in Hebrew would be anya. Anya. So let me make sure I got this correct before I go anywhere else. All right, so anya, shamar. So that's how you say I watch. Anya shamar, I watch. So in general, no past, present, or future tense, right? But if you want to make this phrase past tense, you would add your conjugation to the end, right? Because past is behind you. The past is behind you, so you would add your conjugation behind the phrase, all right? So anya, shamar, your conjugation would go here. So goes from anya shamar, I watch, to I watched. Shamar, to make this past tense, you would just say ya. Ya. So the phrase will be anya shamartaya. So to say I watched, anya shamartaya. All right. Now, if I was talking about you watched, right? I'm giving a report or whatever the case is. I don't know. I'm reminding the brother. Yeah, you was on Shamar with me. You watched with me. And you watched me do this, that, and the third. You watched this happen. You know what I mean? You watched. So again, you would start with the root word meaning you. The root word meaning you would be the. The. Shamar. All right. And because the past is behind you, the conjugation would go behind the phrase. All right. I'm just saying that so that you can remember. All right. So, Atha Shamar, and the conjugation would be Tha. So, Atha Shamar Tha. And again, this is why I want to go over this, because knowing that this is past tense, you can pronounce it properly, because the at the end of a root word is also a tense, a doing tense. It's also used for a categorization tense, meaning like you might see it at the end of father, Abba. So you'll put a tha at the end of Abba to say Abath, meaning categories of fathers, right? When the Most High was creating things, you saw the tha at the end of a lot of those things that he was creating, because he was making different categories of things, all different fowls of the air and after their kind, and beasts of the field after their kind, and creatures in the sea after their kind. He was making categories of things. So you saw that tha at the end, right? So you might see a tha at the end of Shamar, or you might see a tha at the end of Shamar and be like, oh, it's categories of Shamar or Samar in the servile tense. So you would want to pronounce it Shamarath, right? Because of what you know. Because of what you know. And that's fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? When you're reading it, just read it how you know what I mean, based on what you know, right? But what you want to do so that you can add on to your understanding, and you know what I mean, so that you can be able to teach, because we're supposed to be teachers. You know what I mean? It's the home of the truth. We're supposed to be able to teach it all. You know what I mean? So if you want to be if you want to understand the Hebrew, this is where your questions are are going to come from. It's like, so you see this tha behind a root word, you're gonna have to consider, okay, is this a servile tense? Is this a what's it called? Is this a servile tense? Is this categories, right? Is this or what is this? Now you have one more thing to consider. Is this a future tense conjugation? And you know based on context. You know what I mean? Context is king. You know what I mean? You know it's servile tense because you'll see it'll be a lord talking to their the officer or the man up under them. Or you'll see a man talking to a woman, right? It's talking about rank. If you see rank involved, then you'll see that tha there, and you know that it's servile tense. All right. If you see the tha and it's talking about, like I was talking about in Genesis, when it was talking about the Most High making different categories of creatures, you know that that's category tenses, but that's a category tense based on the context. You know what I mean? You see those categories, and now you know, okay, this means categories, right? And then also, if you observe it and it's talking about what somebody will do or what somebody has done, Salakia, what somebody has done, because we're talking about past tense. We're talking about you did this in the English. I mean, if you see in the English, you did this, and you did this, and you did this, you know that tha is talking about past tense. So again, this is why this concept is so important, so that you can know the difference. Because if this is past tense and you say shamarath, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. All right. But you know based on context. So like it. All right. So to say you watched, it's atha shamar tha. All right. So that's shamarath. Right. Shamar tha. Right. So now we got a pattern. So with past tense, to say he watched, say hawa'a. Lucky. You say hawa'a, shamar, and whatever concept or the conjugation is. Hawa'a, shamar. And with hawa'a, say he watched. To conjugate it as past tense, you don't add anything. All right? Just hawa'a shamar. He watched. He watched. All right? Now for she. For she. Haya'ab. Right? She, shamar. We would add a ha there. Haya'a shamar ha. All right. We, for space sake, I'm not gonna rewrite the root word, but to say we watched, this one should be easy, right? Anaknawa, shamar, Noah. Anaknawa, shamar Noah. All right. So we watched Anaknawa, shamar Noah. Y'all watched a thumb. Write it down here. A thumb, shamar. A thumb, shamar, thumb. A thumb, shamar thumb. All right. And then they watch. Leave this is the last one. Let me make sure. They watch. Is hum, shamar, wa. Shamar wa. All right. All right, so these are just all your conjugations, all right, just for past tense. Again, write them down in your notes and then go back and write them in the Hebrew, in the ancient, and then write them down in the Assyrian. It's not hard. Look, I wrote it down in the English, so now all you got to do is just write down the English or the Hebrew character, all right? You know what I mean? So I'll do this one for you. Shamar thumb. So shamar, Sha, Ma, Ra, Thumb. Right? So that's all I want you to do. I mean, take this home and then write it down in the ancient and in the Assyrian so that you're familiar with it, because it's one thing to understand the concept in the English, but if you haven't seen it in the Hebrew, it's still going to trip you up, because you're going to be in your head, you're going to be looking for it in the English, because that's all you practice with. But if you practice with the ancient and the Assyrian, then when you see it in the Assyrian, which is what we're going to be reading from on Saturday, when you see it in the Assyrian, it's not going to be a foreign concept. You'll be able to recognize it on sight, and that's what reading is. All right? So, I mean, this is just to help us speak it, writing it in the English transliteration, but for you to be able to read it, you're going to have to write it. All right? All right, we're going to cut it right there. You see where we at. Lock you. You'll cut it right there. Again, make sure you write it down. Make sure you write these things down. I mean, pause it, rewind it. I mean, I know this was a short one, so it might be easy. It'll be easy to go back and watch it again. I mean, rewatch it so you can really get this concept under your belt, man. Because, I mean, this is going to be something that you're going to see often, and then we're going to add to it. I mean, next week, we're going to add to it. So we learn past tense today, tomorrow, or slightly, not tomorrow. We learn past tense today. Next week, we're going to go into future tense. All right. There's going to be a similar concept. All right. But if you can get this under your belt, then it's going to be less likely for you to confuse past tense with future tense, and you'll be able to digest it. You know what I mean? All right, so with that, let's say Imajim means to stand. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Individual Mother Shabbat. Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbat, Yajimata, Sar, courtesy salute to the sisters. Individual Mother Shabbat. Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbat, Yajimata, class dismissed.